I'm Bob Curtin, 76-year-old man who participated in World War II. And I'll start out my little talk on Pearl Harbor Day. I think we all remember where we were on Pearl Harbor Day.
Where were you?
And I was studying for a test and had the radio with the music on it. And lo and behold, all came the news flash about Pearl Harbor. December 7th, 1941. So at that point,
What did you do when you heard it on the radio?
well, I got up, went on down steps out of the house, went over to my neighbor's house, who was Joe Ferguson, auditor of state, and they didn't know anything about, they weren't listening to it, they were at the dinner table. I told them about it. The next day, Ohio State called off all their classes.
That was a rarity.
That was a rarity, no classes at Ohio State the following Monday. And so from then on, I was in ROTC and was accepted in advanced ROTC in 1943.
Where was that at?
And that was at Ohio State. And that summer, we went down to Fort Knox for training. And I happened to get sick on the training. And they sent me to the base hospital. Well, they didn't know where to put me. I was a cadet, you might say, but they didn't know whether to put me in the officers' quarters or the enlisted men's quarters. And so they finally decided they'd put me in the officers' quarters. And so there was a lieutenant there, and he mentioned to me, by the way, do you happen to know, or have you heard of Patton, General Patton? I said, no, I haven't. You will.
Oh, really?
You will. And so then we finished up that training session, and I stayed in advanced ROTC. And
Did you have your friend with you?
Joe McCarthy. He was my best friend. We started in high school together.
Not the Joe McCarthy, another Joe McCarthy.
No, yeah, from Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah. So he and I were together from grade school, clearing up through. I was his best man. He was my best man. We got to stay in the same outfit. We had a broad guy over in Florence, Italy to stay together, but he kept his word and sent us to the 10th Mountain Division. That's getting a little ahead of the story. Went down in late 43. The seniors, who were 1 year ahead of us, got their commission with their degree. We were just 1 year, 3/4 behind them. They sent us to basic training at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And so we stayed there, and then we were supposed to go to Fort Sill, but they did not have facilities there at Fort Sill. They were filled up. And so what did they do, the Army? They sent us back to Ohio State, ASTP,
What does that mean?
Army Specialized Training Program.
Okay.
And we had nothing to do.
But where did you stay?
We stayed with our folks at home if we lived in Columbus, and the Army paid our folks for keeping us.
Oh, that was good.
Or they gave us people that were not from Columbus an allowance, so most of them just went together, 4 of them, and they rented a place. So that's the way we did. And finally we went to Fort Sill in November of 43. And in 1944, April, we were commissioned in the artillery. And sent down, my order sent me to the 99th Division, Camp Maxey, Texas. And Joe McCarthy also went with me. And no sooner were we there, about 1 month, than the 99th had orders to go to France. And
What
here,
did you think when you got orders to go to France? Was that kind of exciting?
well, we were not allowed. The 99th went over at what was referred to as only 100% of Table of Organizations mandates. We should have been 102, but they went over at 100%. And so the excess, which Joe and I were excess, we got shipped to Fort Meade as replacements. And in the process, our luggage wound up in North Dakota. We were on orders to go to France. But here we are, no clothing except what we wore, carried in our bag. And so we said, hey, what are we gonna do? We don't have any. Go out and buy yours. Oh, heck with you. They deleted us from those orders, and we stayed there and stayed there. Here, all the time, I was coming home to see Ohio State football. My dad got tickets every weekend. They didn't know. And finally, Joe and I wired for an extension of what they call VOCO, which is a verbal order of the commanding officer, for an extension. A report that said, granted, report to this office on your return. And so we did. And the first thing they said when we reported in was, when in the hell did you guys get here? We told them, if we hadn't wired for that extension, we'd have spent the end of the war there. They had no record of us being there. So we just naturally got the same orders men to go to Italy.
Oh, that's different than France.
So
What was there about, something about a second seating and a first seating for breakfast and lunch and?
oh, that was when we were at the, that was the order of, you might say order of battle, but that was the agenda. They said, they posted it on the board. 7:30, first order of, first serving of breakfast. 8 o'clock, first serving, or second serving of breakfast. Then first serving at lunch, 11:30. Second serving of lunch, 12:30. First race at Laurel, 1:30.
They kept you posted, huh?
So
So you were going over to Italy then?
and we went to Italy, yeah, and
Where did you come in? What part
and
of
we
Italy?
went into Naples. And boy, that anybody that had been through Naples in the war, the Germans did a thorough job of blowing up that harbor. It was just one solid mess. And so we went to the 24th Replacement Depot, being replacements, and from there we shipped up to the 8th Replacement Center, which is outside between Florence and Bologna. I mean, Florence and Pisa. And while there, Joe and I, of course, Joe McCarthy, I got a letter from my wife-to-be, Marie, and it said to me, how do you like San Miniato, which was just about 300 yards down the road.
How did she even
I
know where
went-
you were?
I went up to Joe and I said, Joe, we're gonna be in trouble. Quit telling Jeanette where the heck we are.
Oh, she was finding it out from his
Well, he
girlfriend.
said, I haven't told him Jeanette where we are. Well, is that right? Well, come to find out when I got home, I asked her, how did you guess San Miniato? Well, she said, I knew you were somewhere between Florence, because you always said you went to Florence this week and you went to Pisa this week. So I just stuck a pin in the map and it came out to San Miniato.
Little psychic there.
Little, yeah,
Yes,
that's
please,
how she got, but 300 yards away from the replacement depot. So lo and behold, the 10th Mountain Division was an outfit, the only mountain division in the Army. And it handpicked the people originally. And after the first battle, which they lost quite a few people, soldiers, the officer came down, he wanted to handpick the replacement.
Well, now, the original hand picking, what was required? They had
They had
to,
mountain climbers and skiers and people of that nature.
rifle like we see in the Olympics, ski and shoot?
Yeah, that were mountain climbers and trained on the mountains and worked in the mountains
And of
from
course-
Vermont and Washington State, New York, Upper New York State.
Of course, you had all this training, right?
No. No. No.
And so naturally they picked you, right?
They were told, you'll take what we'll send you. That's what they told the guy from the outfit that was gonna handpick everybody. Oh,
Had you ever skied or
Never.
exiled before?
never.
That's right, there's no hills in Columbus.
And so we both got sent to the, because we took the replacement officer from the 8th Replacement Depot to Florence one weekend, and it was on us. We paid for everything. Paid for everything. And he made the comment, he said, when you guys go, I'll be sure that you go to the same outfit. And he kept his word.
Yeah, that was kind of unusual that you were able to stay together like that.
Yeah.
That was a little bit
Yes.
of luck, a little bit of...
We were able to, and he kept his word. We were able to take him out to Florence, and then he made that comment. He kept his word
Just for the dinner?
for the weekend.
Oh, for the weekend. Oh, okay.
And then we, as we say,
What did you do then when they sent you with that?
well, he went to one battery and I went to the other battery. And because our specialty, my specialty, was 105s, the mountain outfit only had 75 pack howitzers. By that I meant the mules carried the guns because they were pack howitzers. But in 105s, a 2.5-ton truck was required to pull them. And so,
And you had a 2.5-ton truck?
I had 4 guns. And my basic requirement was to be with the guns or go up to be a forward observer. And so my first action was as a forward observer in Italy, and that's before the final push. And
Well, what did you see when you were up?
well,
forward
when
like
I
that?
got the first day I went up on the line, I looked out in my glasses and I saw this Red Cross vehicle, German Red Cross vehicle, pulling up, and I saw him carrying shells into this house, ammunition. So I called back to what we call fire direction, and I said, fire mission. That means I want to fire, get fire. I certainly gave him the coordinates, and I got the reply back, I'm sorry, Lieutenant, we have shot up our allotted rounds for the day.
Ooh.
So a British officer was right next to me, and he says, don't worry, mate. He called back, and he blew it to hell. He got ammunition, which we supplied him, but I couldn't get it. That was my first experience.
Oh.
And so later on, we were only in action 2.5 more months before the war ended. But my biggest problem came on the night when we got into the Po Valley. We ran off of the map, didn't know where we were, and all of a sudden, a German Panzerfaust came out from the side of the hill. Panzerfaust was the equivalent of our bazooka, and hit my 2.5-ton truck. Luckily, nobody was killed. 2 people were injured, 2 cannoneers were injured. But there, my 2.5-ton burst into flames. Immediately, everybody, I said, get away. And just at that time, came a German lorry loaded with soldiers down this road. They were lost. And I said to my 4th gun section, fire. And so we hit that. He had about 4 trucks behind him, their German truck.
Now, how many guys did you have there at that time?
Well, I had the whole battery, which was about 110 people,
Okay.
loaded on 4
Yeah.
2.5 tons. And there we were, right in the middle of the Po Valley, a little town called Modena, M-O-D-E-N-A.
Modena.
Modena, whatever it was. And it was 2 of them, big fires going up. So luckily we went on, and and I got a command. No, anybody here in the artillery? I got a command later on in the Po Valley. Pull off at your nearest place you can pull off this road and set your battery at 2200 degrees, aiming point, North Star. Aiming point, North Star.
Now, what does that mean, though?
Which means that I had to turn the aiming circle up in the sky, locate the North Star, then bring them down and align my guns to 2400 mils, which was almost straight north. That's where the enemy was.
Oh my gosh.
But it was a clear night, and we were able to, I was able to set the battery.
And was there a German truck that came down that?
Oh yeah, it was blown, we blew that up. But then, the other interesting thing, right before we got to the end of the Po Valley, these German prisoners that gave themselves up, they called me down. They knew I could speak a little German. And I could not understand them. They were speaking in German a mile a minute. I couldn't understand them.
They were scared?
They were scared to death. And so I said, I can't understand them. Luckily, there were about 4 or 5 Italian kids, 12 years old. 12 years old, no more, 12, 13 years old, who spoke Italian, German, and English. And we got all the information that we needed.
What did you reward those kids then?
Gave candy bars.
No. What were conditions like over there with the people that were there? Were they?
Well, they were happy that we knocked the Germans out, that they were poor, and they naturally got more food when we came in, but the Germans didn't give them much food, and they scrounged for everything. But
where were there Italian soldiers at that time?
oh, they were out of commission. They were either in, the Germans gave up in 43, so there were no Italian soldiers. They ended the war in 43. That's when Mussolini, Hitler came in and saved Mussolini and occupied all of Italy at that time.
Well, had they come home then, or where were they located?
Oh, they were there in the cities. You mean the Italian population?
And what? Yeah, the Italian soldiers that were.
Oh, no, they were either in a prisoner of war camp or they came home. And most of them probably were just freed because the war was over in 43 when Italy surrendered, and they probably all went home. But then the Germans came in almost immediately and took over the whole of Italy, and that's what gave us a problem.
But did you get to spend any time with any of the Italian people there, or did they feed you? Well, they didn't have anything to eat, did they?
No, there was, we did have 2 or 3 families that were pretty well off, and we went, they served a meal to us now and then, but this was when we were at the replacement depot more than in combat. They wanted to get out of the way of the action.
What kind of meal would they feed you, and what kind of food did they have?
Really good meal, particularly was on the farms. And they had people that lived on farms, they did all right. And that's what's all around in the replacement depot where we were, farms. And one other thing, when we hit the Lake Garda, our division captured a whole warehouse of French champagne. Ooh. And every bottle had stamped on it, reserved for the Wehrmacht. Oh. And so the general rationed out every soldier in the 10th Mountain Division received 4 bottles of French George Mum and Son champagne.
And when did you use that?
And we used it after the war was over. And we cooled it in the mountain streams. We were in the Alps at that time. And got pretty well loaded this one night.
Now, you say in the Alps. did you ski? Was it snow during that time?
No, it was in May. There was snow up there. There was snow up there. But it was, my last official duty was to take 25 2.5 tons trucks loaded with soldiers up to a little town called Murano, which was the Riva Pass. And I never saw a city that I loved so much to go back to, never had a chance, called Murano, Merano, Murano, Italy. It was
What was it like?
snow on the top and all different peaks, and this was in the center. Snow on the top, green evergreens along the side, blue waters and lakes on the bottom, and it was just the most picturesque city I ever saw.
Like a postcard.
Just like a postcard.
And you never went back?
And I didn't have a chance to go back.
Were there, did you see some caves or something around? Was that around where you saw caves? Caves in solid rock, a lake garden?
Oh, Lake Garda, that was the last effort of the Germans to prevent us from going up. They had railroad guns in caves, and they did sink, not our outfit, but they did sink two ducks loaded with soldiers, DKS ducks, which were just like a motorboat, only loaded with soldiers.
Could go land or sea?
They send them down to the bottom, but we did blow them out of the caves, and our outfit missed catching Mussolini by about 3 hours. He was at Lake Garda before he went over to Milan, where they hung him and his mistress. But we missed.
Upside down?
Yeah, we missed him by 3 hours, or we had him. But that's where he was, at Lake Garda. So then our final effort after that was to, Tito was saying he wanted to possess this area of Yugoslavia that was in question. Actually, it was part of Austria, but he was going to come down and occupy it. And President Truman ordered our outfit, or the War Department ordered our outfit up there to prevent Tito from crossing what they call the Isonzo River. So we'd had occupation duty for about 2 months, and we kept Tito from crossing the Isonzo River, and like he said he was going to do.
Did you know a Colonel Darby?
Colonel Darby of Darby's Rangers was assigned to the 10th Mountain Division after his outfit broke up, and he was killed 2 days before the end of the war with our outfit up at the northern end of Lake Garda. And then after occupation duty, we got orders to go to Japan, Formosa really, through the Suez Canal. And
They had different uniforms for that switch.
General Hayes was our commander, and he flew to Washington and got the orders changed. Asked General Marshall. He said, "We fought, and we'd be glad to go, but I think we deserve 30 days at home." And so we got to come back through the States. And while the second to last day before we arrived at Hampton Roads, we got word of the atomic bomb. And we said, blowing up, Hiroshima. And Navy didn't tell us anything. We just said, we dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, period.
You had no idea what it was?
We didn't have any idea what it was. Until
Did they say that would end the war?
No. Finally, we got our leave, and that's when I got married. And,
during the leave you got married?
Yeah.
And your friend?
Well, he got married the year before.
Oh.
I was his best man and vice versa. And, he died here about 4 years ago. But we were together from first year of high school until he died 4 years ago. And we had to work some deals, but we did.
Did you then what What did you do when you heard about VJ Day? What were you doing?
VJ Day, let me go back, where was
So you've already drunk those 4 bottles of champagne.
I? That was over there, it was
Yeah.
VE Day. VJ
But
Day.
you were over, you heard about the Hiroshima?
Oh,
bomb?
yeah, VJ Day. Oh, that's when we got our 30-day leave.
Okay.
We got it at Atterbury, and on the train coming from Atterbury to Columbus, Camp Atterbury to Columbus, going through Dayton, Ohio, is when President Truman announced the end of the war with Japan. And we came into Union Station VJ night.
Oh, and what was downtown like?
Bedlam, just Bedlam. VJ night, we came into Union Station.
What an exciting time to get back.
Yeah.
With everybody excited and enjoying, I think.
Yeah.
Bob, we've really enjoyed talking with you and really appreciate all that you've been through and that you've told us. Thank you for allowing us.
Homecoming timing.